talk a little NFL, though, right here. This comes from Chris Trapasso of CBS Sports, ranking the NFL's top 10 instant impact rookies for 2023. Shout out to my man, Lucius. As we look here, and okay, some of the names that are going to be on here, you had linked definitely to the Dallas Cowboys, but at the same time, before I get to the names on this list, I will let you know Mazi Smith didn't make it. But
what?
No, he did not. I'm sorry. Does that bother you? Does that bother you? Does that bother you, Medford, that he didn't make this list? No.
Yeah. Does Ryan Wilson not know like the way to get clicks is to include the Dallas Cowboys?
I mean, most times, yes.
What a jerk.
But Trapasso doesn't feel like.
Oh, this is Trapasso?
Yeah, Chris Trapasso of CBS Sports.
Oh, so this isn't Ryan Wilson?
No. He doesn't feel like Mazi Smith makes the top 10 list. His honorable mention, though, was a target that we thought was going to be for the Dallas Cowboys, Michael Mayer. But, of course, he wound up going to the Raiders.
Now, some of this, I mean, I'm not surprised that Mazi's not involved. Of course, I did the whole thing, but he's a defensive tackle. Right? Like, this is not a position that people consider like, oh, well, that's going to be an impact type situation. Plus, I understand he's a first-round pick. He's going to get playing time. I imagine that some folks will look at it and be like, he's going to be in a rotation with Jonathan Hankins, who was playing a lot towards the end of last season. You know, like, I wonder if people look up and go, yeah, how much impact can he make, especially as a dude who does not come in pass rush ready necessarily. Like, he has the upside of pass rush, but like, yo, he's going to be a run stopper at defensive tackle. That does not scream major impact guy that you should be, you know what I mean? So I do wonder if that's some of what does it. And that also then will lead me to the idea that you mentioned that there was a tight end. I feel like there's going to be a whole bunch of pass catchers and running backs in this situation when we start talking about dudes, rookies that we look at that will be impactful. In fact, we could probably look at this as who's going to be in the race for Rookie of the Year, right? And when we talk about that, it's relatively rare that we start talking about guys that are pretty important, but also probably won't get all like the love and the shine, like, you know, tackles and guards and, you know, defensive linemen that are not edges.
Look, and the number 10 player that makes this list is a player whom, look, I'm going to be excited to talk about this team because I thought they had a hell of a draft. And that is because
Which one?
their quarterback is the reigning NFL's comeback player of the year.
Are we talking about Jackson Smith and Jigba?
Yeah, okay. Man. I'm just
because I also then had to be like, all right, which first round are we talking about?
Yeah, because they did have two.
It's the one who's going to be catching the football.
And look, they took the best corner available in the draft and arguably the best receiver in the draft did the Seattle Seahawks.
Although there's some people that have some questions about Witherspoon, funny enough.
I think the consensus was that Witherspoon was, you know, probably the best corner, but regardless, he was one of two, and he was no lower than two.
Right.
So I love the way that Seattle drafted this year, and if you're Geno Smith, you've got to love what you're going to be doing this year and passing the football to DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and now you throw Jackson Smith and Jigba into the mix. Geno's looking like, oh, y'all got all these toys for me to play with this upcoming season. Appreciate that, John Schneider. Thank you so much for that.
And one thing about Geno Smith is he did, you know, basically sit into a place where he was making a lot of good decisions. That was, especially early on in the season, that was like one of the benefits. People were like, oh, wow, look at Geno making the right plays. And, you know, every once in a while he'll hit you with the deep pass as well. Wow, this is great. But if he's going to continue, and if he continues in that vein of making the right decision, that core of wide receivers is going to, at least in theory, put you in a place where if you make the right decision, you're going to be successful and they're going to put up some numbers. So I understand why Jackson Smith and Jigba, especially also being wide receiver 1 in this draft, gets you in this place. But this is only 10, right? This is spot number 10. So let's see how this shakes out as we go further up.
The next two are pass catchers as well. One that we mentioned a little bit earlier because Lamar Jackson's going to be throwing the football to him. Zay Flowers, coming from Boston College, going to Baltimore to play alongside Odell Beckham Jr., Rashad Bateman, Nelson Aguilar, I guess.
Yeah, in the slot situation. I'm also interested, is he already in the place where we probably see him returning things? Like returning kicks, punts?
I'd have him in the return game.
Because then that also adds to the possibility of like making an impact. Yeah. That's one of those places that if you get a dude who has the speed, that can be beneficial. If you take one back on the season, we can already change the way that this thing goes. Or if you can get a good amount of return yards, you could put your offense in good positions. And we understand how that changes the game. Hello, Kevontae Turpin, right? So that could be also very interesting, which is why is he in this place? Although I guess we don't have any idea on whether he'll kick and punt return.
Quentin Johnston comes in at number 8, the wide receiver from TCU going to the Chargers. I'm very interested in the Chargers and how they'll perform on offense this year.
Kellen Moore portion?
Yeah. But Justin Herbert obviously leading the charge from the quarterback spot. You throw Johnston into the mix with Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. They've got a good offense. Rashawn Slater anchoring the offensive line for them.
Eckler's still there, right? Like he didn't find his way out.
Yeah, in the backfield. They've got a talented offense in Los Angeles that if the Chargers don't go full Charger, they can make a lot of teams have some difficulties on defense with the abilities. And look, if Kellen Moore is allowed to open it up or starts to cook in a way that we look around and say, now, how come that wasn't here in Dallas? I think we'll have.
Oh, you know what the answer is going to be for a lot of folks, and we will have to consider that suggestion very seriously. But the answer will be, well, that's because of that quarterback. Now he got Justin Herbert.
Okay, is that going to be the toxic conversation?
Yes, of course that's going to be. What do you mean? Are you new here? That's going to be the first thing we go to.
Because if Herbert gets out there and lights it up for 35 a game,
of course,
and Kellen Moore's out here cooking with Eckler and all those weapons, we're looking like 100%.
That's where we're going.
Boy, yeah,
prepare yourself.
That's messed up.
Batten down the hatches.
Number 7, Sam Laporta. Now, depending on who you believe, apparently that was the Cowboys' number 1 ranked tight end. To which I say, all right.
The entirety of the reporter class around these Cowboys, lit up on that. On draft day, first round draft day.
Yeah.
And they stood by it afterwards, even though that's not where the Cowboys went, right? Like everybody was like, yeah, no, this is what I heard very clearly. So seems like the Cowboys, in the very least, had a very high estimation of that young man. So it'll be interesting to see what he's capable of doing with the Detroit Lions, you said?
That's right.
Okay.
We'll see how your man Jared Goff performs with some of that offense there with Sam Laporta. Now they got Jahmyr Gibbs there as well, so we'll see what they do offensively in Detroit. Jordan Addison comes in at number 6, another wide receiver with Minnesota. I'm sure.
I forgot he went to Minnesota.
Justin Jefferson's like, thank you. Appreciate that. Because Adam Thielen, of course, went to Carolina.
Yeah.
And now he's going to have Jordan Addison alongside of him.
You think what Justin Jefferson was worried about is having other wide receivers there?
Well, I'm sure he's looking around like, hey, Kirk, there's other guys on the field. You can throw them the ball too every now and then. Because I'm sure Justin's like, he's throwing it to me again.
I'm sure Justice.
All right, I'll go catch it.
Yeah, I'm sure Justice is good with getting the ball. I imagine that sometimes he would like it to be thrown a little better. But hey, one thing about that team, and there are certain people that I justifiably get upset with me because I don't be showing the Vikings no respect. And for one, I feel like I'm giving them the respect that they're due. However,
you don't have to. You don't have to.
However, they do end up they're not a bad team. They just don't really strike me as a particularly good one all the time. And so yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that goes in that circumstance. But hey, I mean, you got to admit Jordan Addison looked incredible, particularly when he was at Pitt, and then he goes to USC and he still looks pretty damn good. So I'm interested to see what he could do because if you have Justin Jefferson out there looking pretty good. That also takes, like you mentioned, or like you were alluding to, that takes a lot of pressure off of you as the other guy.
What did I refer to as the Minnesota Vikings throughout the course of last season?
The most unserious team in the NFL.
The most unserious team in the NFL. Their point differential could have had them as one of the, not just an average team, possibly one of the worst teams in the NFL.
Some of that was defense, though.
I mean, again, unserious on the Minnesota Vikings.
All right.
Christian Gonzalez going to the New England Patriots. Shout out to Bill Belichick and his defense for getting a shutdown corner, and Gonzalez, hope that works out for him in New England. Deonte Banks, another corner, which has direct impact on the NFC East, particularly the Cowboys, as, of course, he was drafted by the Giants. Shout out to Wink Martindale. He loves his corners, his aggressive corners.
Yeah, I mean, Wink Martindale loves blitzing, and so having cornerbacks that can also do that gives him more options in that realm. Even though, I think he kind of mellowed out a little bit in that regard, but having that option is always good. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what he's able to do with the wide receiving core that the Cowboys have put together.
Yeah, I think that's going to be fun to watch in the NFC East. The Eagles, of course, reloading up with Darius Slay and James Bradbury. We know that all the Georgia players that they took. By the way, quick note on that. I don't know if you saw this. With this draft being complete, Georgia's national championship defense, every single starter from the 2021 Georgia national championship defense has now been drafted.
Yeah, is that surprising? They were running out an NFL defense. Hey, man, I'm not here to be disrespectful to Stetson Bennett or none of them other guys on offense.
Who surprisingly got drafted by the Rams. Did not see that coming.
Anybody else watching college football at that time understood that was a historically good defense. And what happens when you have a historically good defense? Most of them, if not all of them, end up in the NFL playing football. And it very much looked like all them dudes should be in the NFL playing football.
Well, they are now. As every single Georgia starter on that 2021 defense has now been drafted into the NFL. Here's an interesting thing here for the 940. I think Washington drafted badly, intentionally hoping to bring Caleb Williams back home next year. That's a hell of a theory to think about.
Who did Washington even draft? I'm trying to remember because it did not jump out to me.
Emmanuel Forbes.
Oh, but
yeah,
he's a solid cornerback, man.
Good football player. Aisha Morrison's favorite.
Yeah.
He's a good football player. He's going to have his hands full in the NFC East with these receivers, though. That's for damn sure. Last two players to round out, or last three, I should say, to round out this list of the top 10 instant impact rookies going into 2023. Jahmyr Gibbs, a running back from Detroit.
He's gonna get carries, and that's a team that wants to run the football. Makes sense.
The fighting biting kneecaps of Detroit. Congratulations to them. Bijan Robinson at number 2 with the clearly unserious front office that is the Atlanta Falcons, as they thought the idea was to go get Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah, but they going to be real serious with Bijan. Like, you don't draft him to wait.
He's going to be so much fun.
You don't draft him to wait to utilize him. Like, were your parents the kind that, like, would buy you shoes and be like, you gotta hold on to them for a little bit until, like, a special occasion to break them out or whatever?
Oh, no, I'm putting them bad boys on right now.
Yeah, so that's what they're doing with Bijan. Like, they are like, we just got these. Don't worry about the box. I'll wear them out. Like, that's how Bijan is going to be. Put him on the field, get him the ball, running out of the backfield. And so, yeah, there's got to be impact with Bijan. The clock is ticking at this point.
Interesting choice at number 1 for CBS Sports in their top 10 impact rookies going into 2023.
Yeah, who do they have over Bijan here?
Shout out to Will Chambers and the Chicago Bears. Darnell Wright, the offensive tackle from Tennessee.
Because some of this Justin, that's incredible that we had an offensive tackle at the top of this list. But some of those incredible runs that you had by Justin Fields were simply because that offensive line folded like lawn chairs all the damn time. Like, having somebody that is stable enough to allow him to drop is going to be such an important factor for them. I don't know that I would have said, the impact player of the entire rookie class, but he will be impactful. Like, don't get me wrong.
I think it's to your point, though, what Chicago wants to do with Justin Fields and his ability to throw the football and run it.
Yeah, it's like anything they want to do is going to have to start with somebody that can actually stand up there.
Yeah, and Darnell Wright going 6'5", 330, 34-inch, arms. He's big boy.
Big boy.
It's going to be protecting Justin Fields, hopefully.
One of them Justins.
For the next decade in Chicago.
Before we go, real quick, from the truckwreck.com text line, from the 817, hey, get right, please chime in on this work debate. Who will have a bigger impact, Mazi Smith or DeMarvion Overshown? They're deadlocked at 4 votes apiece.
Mazi Smith.
Yeah, that felt kind of easy to me.
He's going to be a starter from day one.
Yeah, at least he's going to be in that rotation. He's going to get a lot of snaps. Overshown, I'm interested to see, like, how he's utilized and when he's utilized. And somebody on the text line earlier made a point that I think dovetails with this pretty well, is the idea that run stoppers get you off the field versus good teams, right? Like,
it goes back to winning in the trenches. When it comes to offensive defensive line, winning in the trenches is important.
And some of this is going to be symbiotic, because if Mazi Smith does what he's supposed to, it's going to allow those linebackers to do their jobs better. And so that's been the whole appeal of that pick in the first place. You clean that up, help establish the center or the spine of your defense, and maybe those linebackers can be even more effective than they were this past season.
And as Mazi Smith saw today, if you're good in the middle, the NFL pay you for it.
90 of them things. 90 million of them things.